Hey guys, good morning. How are you guys doing?
Doing great, thank you. How are you?
Doing awesome.
I'm I'm doing well. I'm actually really excited to do what we're about to do and talk about the market statistics, but let's start with some introductions. My name is Taylor, and I am a realtor and graciously the team leader of Hack and Company at Remax River City, and I am here with some great people that take amazing care of our clients. In fact, the people here right now are the reason that we're the highest rated and reviewed real estate team on the verified review service Rank My Agent. Let's start off with introducing Amy Brown. Amy, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. It's been an exciting week.
What all right, so there was something that you were telling me about that I want you to share. So, what makes it an exciting week?
One of the things that I found really exciting is that I had a listing that was kind of running on a long time. Like we were hit 65 days. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And on day 70, it actually went into multiple offers and we are negotiating it out right now. We're very, very close to an agreement. And I was really excited to see that happen.
Wow. Craig, would you say that that's normal?
Depending on the property. So this market rate here, there are some unpredictable things coming up. And that scenario is definitely out of the ordinary.
Yeah, because when we get multiple offers on a property, when does it normally happen?
Opening weekend.
Yeah, almost every time, right? So, Amy, do you have any any insight on that situation? Was there any inkling of why you thought it happened?
I think that right now the market feels pretty tight in the way that there aren't a lot of great properties on the market. So this one is a really exceptional, beautiful property. And when we look at the competitors that are out there, it's outshining them.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad that you found your audience with that one. I also want to introduce Craig Bentley. Craig, how's your week going?
Week is fantastic. Definitely settling into the fall season here. A little bit of frost on my car this morning. I had to turn on the heated seats. I feel the holiday season approaching.
Yeah, it was only like 1 degree, right?
Big difference from last week.
And as somebody who's always active in the marketplace, anything really top of mind this week for what happened in real estate?
Yeah, we actually had a very rare scenario kind of come up. So I was out with a gentleman searching for a home, and we found one of interest a few weeks ago that was currently pending, and it sold firm. A couple weeks later, got a message from the listing realtor saying that the deal was not going to close, even though it was a firm sale, because a gentleman's financing didn't end up going through. He had a pre-approval rate locked in and held, which had expired. So their financing could not come together. And we were able to swoop in, purchase that property before it came back to the market.
That's also something that is incredibly uncommon. Like, Tony, out of 10 sales, how many of them come apart after their firm?
I don't know how many after their firm. I'd say right now it's probably 1 or 2 I've seen.
After their firm?
Yeah, I mean, it's not many, but I've seen 1 or 2 recently
go through once they're firm. Like, as somebody who sold over 100 properties with us, how many times after everybody's removed conditions has a deal not come together?
Like, it's not super common, but I've seen it a lot more right now with buyers coming from other places, and their place, it's like a domino effect, right? So it seems to be happening a little bit more frequently in the last month or so, but usually it used to be everything's closing right after it's firm.
100%, right? Like 100% of deals after firm closing. So you've heard of 1 or 2. Craig just saw one that he was able to catch on the rebound. What positioned you for that catch?
Well, luckily the realtor had communicated with us. I contacted my client and we did not waste any time. We jumped in that property that next morning and had an offer ready to go. We did not want it going back to the market because it was a property that went quickly, that had a lot of interest. So we didn't want to be like Amy and get into a multiple offer scenario.
Well, nice catch there. That's pretty good. I also want to introduce Anthony D'Souza. Anthony, how's your week been going? Actually, I heard you were hanging out at Builders.
Yep, can't complain. It's been interesting kind of hanging out with builders and, older resale homes and finding castles in the woods. It's been an interesting one.
Was it made out of candy, the castle in the woods?
Absolutely not. It was a full cement building that was built probably 30 years ago, like medieval times. I'd say probably about 1,000 square foot castle in the woods at the back of this property. So pretty cool.
I wonder what the minimum square footage is for a castle. Because I think that's great. You know, you meet somebody, they want you to buy them a palace, and you're like, no problem. Here it is. Right? Like
they should have put ready for anybody that plays Dungeons and Dragons, and we definitely have some clients that would be right up that alley. So it was cool to find totally unexpected when we were walking through the property.
Well, if you're looking for a castle, Tony knows where one is. Okay. And it's not the pink one on 127th Street.
Nope.
With the lions out front. We see all kinds of stuff in real estate. In fact, I was going through properties. I helped these clients of ours. They're back, I think, for the 4th time. And we found this really cool place. You know how they say good bones? That normally happens in executive neighborhoods. And in Sherwood Park, Village on the Lake, has a ton of these executive homes that have these larger floor plans. And when they're renovated, they're amazing. And we picked up one that was renovated by Infill North. So it was an actual builder that did the reno on this. And it looks super cool. So if you had your eye on that property on the MLS, I'm sorry we got it. So this month now, we're seeing a whole bunch of news. All right. The news is all about real estate. People are talking about interest rate changes. People are talking about real estate doing what? What are you guys seeing in the news? Yeah, Craig.
Oh, the sky is falling. If you just look at the
sky
news.
is falling.
Only the national news.
The national news, right, which dominates the news out of like the, I don't know, under 40 million Canadians out there. What is it? 20 million of them live in Toronto and Vancouver. So those markets very much dominate the news. And is that what you guys are experiencing here?
No.
Okay, I think we should dig into it. Now, when we take a look at, like, if I'm ever standing at a barbecue or something and somebody wants to talk real estate with me, what they normally say is, how's the market? Or they ask me if it's a buyer's or a seller's market. Let's give this to Craig. Craig, is it a buyer's market or a seller's market?
We have officially transitioned into a buyer's market.
Awesome. And can you take us through months of inventory?
Sure, absolutely here. So months of inventory, I believe actually Anthony was going to talk a little bit more about that.
It was actually mine.
Amy, okay, yeah. Fantastic.
I would love to jump in and take this over.
This is my bad. So Amy, Craig, I got to get my notes right. But so Amy's talking about months of inventory. Craig says it's a buyer's market. Amy, can you break it down for us?
It is a buyer's market right now. So first of all, months of inventory is how many months would it take us to burn through the inventory that's on the market if no other houses came to the market and we were selling at the same rate that we are now. So we're sitting at 4.8 months, which puts us officially in a buyer's market. Now, this is kind of the common trend that we see, the same as last year, that month over month we creep up a little bit this time of year. We're about 0.8 months higher than we were last year. So the one thing that I would want buyers to know is don't let this trick you. A buyer's market doesn't mean that you can gouge on price. It doesn't mean that you can wait around on the good homes, because like I was saying earlier, the high quality, good homes that don't have a bunch of jobs in them are still selling quick. We are still seeing multiple offers, and we're seeing good offers. And if you're selling, my advice would be to come to the market at the right price. If you do come to the market at the right price, you're probably going to feel a little bit more like it's a seller's market.
What do you think of that, Anthony?
It's very accurate, and we're seeing it pretty much everywhere. You know, the more accurate you are, the better chance you have of finding that buyer pool that's going to, you know, really enjoy your property. So you can't be using the playbook from 3 months ago. It's just not going to work today.
I totally agree. That's actually a good way that you put that there, using the playbook from 3 months ago, right? I'm going to talk a little bit about flow rate here because a lot of people don't look at the market stats related to sales to new listing ratio, but let me break it down. What we're talking about when we say sales to new listing ratio is the flow. If 10 houses show up, how many leave the market during the same month? And if you take a look at what happened in September, for every 10 houses that hit the market, 5 houses left the market, right? And if that continues, that will mean that we're going to accumulate listings on the market if they don't sell or expire or terminate, which is something that actually does happen quite commonly this time of year. If somebody wasn't able to get it done during the summer market, the fall market is actually a really exciting market in real estate. And it's for exactly what Amy and Anthony and Craig were talking about, which is that the good ones go quick and you can't see it from the outside. A property that's hot and a property that's not could be right next to each other. So when we take a look at that 3-month trend for sales to new listing ratio, what we see is it was 55% bubbling up to 57%. So almost 6 out of 10 of the houses that enter the market are leaving the market in the same month there. And now we're at 5 out of 10. And when we look at it last year, we would have been at 6 out of 10 at this same point. So more selling per listing is what we've been seeing. So we could call this softening. We could say that the market's kind of curving off a little bit, but really when you take a look at the arc or how the market's moving, it's moving in a very similar way to last year. Anybody have any thoughts on that? Like when you're seeing new listings come to the market, would you say that the prospective listings right now, as we enter into October, it's pretty good? Like there's pretty good reception out there. Offers are coming.
Absolutely.
It's really neighborhood specific. Like that's what we're seeing right now. So, if you're listing into some of these neighborhoods where there's not very much inventory, I do expect it to be interesting. And we've seen that recently with some of our most recent listings.
Oh, I think we lost you there for a second, Tony. Did anybody else lose him?
Sorry, I didn't realize there was any issues there. I was just saying that depends on the neighborhood. But we've seen some of our listings go just because they're falling into a pocket that they're accurately priced and there's not much for sale in that specific area.
Yeah, but like you were saying earlier, you have to be working with the most recent information, because if you were taking the same strategy this fall that you took this spring, what do you think would happen, Craig?
You would sit on the market with no showings.
So if you see a property that's maybe been on the market for even 60 days, it could mean that they're inconsistent with the market because the data was different at that point than it is now. And that's exactly how we actually find deals. So Amy, you were saying how when the market shifts, some people are actually going to be consistent with their list price. So it's not distance between list and sale, but there is deals to be had between list and sale out there, especially on that property that's over 2 months on the market. Speaking of days on market, Tony, what are you seeing?
So we're seeing right now in September for single family homes, they're taking about 44 days on the market. And we know that days on market shows, a number that goes up day by day from the time it's listed till the time it's sold. So 44 days to sell the average single family home. For condos, it's about 56. Duplexes and row houses, you're at about 45. And then when we're looking at what it was like last month, it was about a week faster for single family homes, but about the same for duplexes and condos, and about 42 days overall, which isn't bad. About a week slower, considering we're just coming out of kids getting back to school and families kind of thinking about maybe we should do this real estate thing again. And when we're looking at where September numbers were this year to last year we were sitting at 38 days overall for single family. So again, just about a week faster overall.
That's good information. And I got to say that really much depends on your strategy. Like when we see what days on market are, I want people to think that the average seller does have 2 common goals. They want to sell for the most money in a reasonable amount of time. And so they enter into the market, and right now we're seeing, just like Tony reported, that it takes the average group of realtors with their sellers, almost 2 months, almost 2 months to solve the market, right? But what changes that outcome? Why do some houses sell like on opening weekend?
Accuracy, different factors like what else is for sale in that area. But it definitely does have to do with how accurate you are. And if buyers feel that they might miss out at that price, you got to make it enticing to them.
Yeah, so dropping it right in to a buyer pool is very key, especially if it's the buyer pool that will buy that property because it's a good example of the things that they can buy at that price, right? Now,
That's right.
In some cases, though, it's been kind of hard to call that. Did you notice that, like, when we see in certain neighborhoods, the amount of information that's available is starting to get a little bit spotty because there's less activity in the summer than there is in the spring? I think that you definitely need better listing agents now. You need agents that are going to do more research up front and really nail down where you're going to be able to perform, because it would probably be better that you find that buyer in October than you finding that buyer in December or trying to find them in January, just depending on what the trend continues. Because the other thing that I've been seeing in the news and what we've been talking about is net migration. Who here has dealt with someone from out of province in the last 30 days? So we're seeing it, hey? And I think Craig and Amy, have you guys dealt with anybody out of province this year?
Multiple.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm dealing with somebody that's out of town right now. They're just in the same province.
Oh, I gotcha. Because we're seeing intraprovincial migration, but also like 35,000 new Albertans.
Yeah.
That's going to massively change what we're reviewing right now. Like, really, when we take a look at what's on the market, there is about 3,000 listings that are new residential listings in September, right? And that makes a total about 7,700 properties on the market at the close of last month. And really, that's only 100 properties up from the same time last year. So I have this theory where maybe they're not, like, the sales data isn't up, like the sales data is actually down. But I think that a lot of the properties that would have sold are starting to actually take tenants. Like, one of the metrics that I've been watching in our marketing, and I've talked a little bit about, is how many people we're getting inquiring with us. We sell properties, but they're renters of properties. So when we're taking a look at how this is affecting price, what's your perspective, Craig?
Well, it's a little bit interesting, actually. So when we're talking about the average sale price here in Edmonton and the greater area, it's a simple formula. You add up all the sales that have happened and divide them by the amount of sales, and you get that average price. So right now, the average price for a single family home here in Edmonton is $463,000, slightly down month over month. Condominiums, we're sitting at $220,000, which is virtually identical to last month. And duplexes and townhomes, they have gone up month over month. We're sitting at $375,000, which is actually the average sale price for all total residential. So month over month, we're just down about 0.5%. So fairly common with what's going on last month is going on this month. And year over year, we're not even down a full percent.
Gotcha. So that's so basically what you're saying is price is kind of holding overall.
Prices are holding overall. It seems like the most common types of properties that are selling, they maybe have moved down a small segment, but consistent month over month and year over year, we're still having good activity, and prices are not crashing like everybody seems to be assuming here. It's just the types of properties which are selling may be at a lower price point.
And we're also not seeing the rental pool be affected very much here like we have been seeing in other major centers. Like the amount that people have raised or tried to raise their rents in the last year in places like Toronto and Vancouver was newsworthy. right? Like they have limitations on how often they can change. I was on a podcast with Adam Nadler out of Toronto yesterday, and what he was saying is that the rents just keep going up and keep going up, but we're not really hearing that here yet, right?
That's right.
And that's something that's actually an important thing to the way that markets move, is that right now interest rates are going up, and I think that the average landlord in the greater Edmonton area is afraid of raising their rents. The reason that they're afraid is because it was harder to get tenants in the past. There was more people leaving Alberta than coming to Alberta. So if you lost this tenant, what would happen? And now we're seeing a trend change there, but we don't have very much confidence from the landlords to raise rent. But rent is correlated with interest rates. So when interest rates go up, you need to raise rent. That's the way this works. So now, as landlords throughout the greater Edmonton area start to raise rent to acclimate to the market, or as investors come in from these other places like Toronto and Vancouver that already know how to play this, we're going to start to see that market shift. But there's a group of renters that have been renting for a long time in Edmonton. The prospect of buying wasn't great. They didn't have a lot of certainty, but that didn't mean that they didn't have savings. And that group is going to feel the pain point of the rent going up. And they should definitely take a look into real estate, because I don't think that there's many landlords that want to pay out more each month than they take in. And that means that technically rent should always be higher than it is to purchase. So I think we'd like to hear a lot more from those first-time home buyers, those people that are thinking about getting into this, because that group, I want you to know that if you think you're going to sit out high interest rates by renting, that is not the way this works. What else do you guys have as like people throughout Edmonton that like if we're talking about it by demographic, right? Like there's downsizers out there. Any information for the downsizers right now?
Downsizer properties are kind of getting tough to find, especially if you're shopping in markets that are tight already, like Sherwood Park. There seems to be a lot more people that are moving into those adult duplexes. And so they are scarce and you have to jump on them right away.
That is totally a pattern that's in our market right now, is those like age restricted, especially those big bungalows and things like that. Those are hot properties.
Absolutely.
Also, I think that is downsizer season. Like I really want to see everybody enjoy that last summer in their house. But man, if you have bathrooms that you clean more than you use, we're talking to you. Okay? Winter is coming, and when it gets cold and it gets slippery, last time it probably wasn't super, like there's probably a couple sketchy moments there.
Mm-hmm.
And like if your mom or your aunt or your uncle or your dad is in one of the situations where they're just kind of taking care of their house, it could change a lot if there's incidents. And we see that in real estate. We see people that like we sell vacant properties once somebody had to move out. You want to do this while this is a choice. And the seller market is shifting a little bit in Edmonton. You guys have done really well over the last couple of years. It's a good time to catch out. So that's what I would really hope that people can bring to their families for Thanksgiving weekend, is just to talk to them a little bit and check on each other. You know, it might be a little while since you've been to Uncle Chuck's place and you don't realize that he hasn't even been cleaning the entire space anymore because it's too much for him to take care of. What about those? We talked a little bit about first-time home buyers, but there's also a lot of families that were considering upgrading, and the spring was too crazy to line up. What are your families that are upsizing saying?
They're finding deals with builders right now, especially on properties that they're holding as inventory, like spec homes. Quite a few builders in neighborhoods right now have multiple homes that they are trying to sell, and you can see patterns of many price reductions from where they listed originally when the home was just still under construction. And now that the home is being closer to possession time, these builders are dropping their prices, and some of our buyers are quite happy to look at this inventory now because it seems more reasonable in pricing. So we've helped a couple families recently, but one specifically on the north side found a house that's about 4 months out from being completed, but it's got everything they want and they were still able to make a couple changes. So I'd say some of these families are really excited about potential of moving into a new home, but not having to go through the entire build, of a 10 or 12 month wait for that house.
And also the timing for that stuff might be now. Like Amy, you have a lot of builder contacts and you were saying that there's some price changes coming.
There are some price changes coming. They say that concrete is set to go up in January about 20%. Glazing, which is all your doors and windows and shower doors and things like that, is all going up. Land is quite scarce for builders. So I think that if you are looking for a brand new house, get into it right now, because I do think prices will continue to go up.
Okay, when people look around just outside Edmonton, it doesn't feel like land is scarce, but there's kind of like a pattern here, right?
Excuse me. Yes, there is a pattern. So during COVID, developers did not develop as much land. They were a little bit afraid to do it. And now we are definitely behind.
So because it's not like they decide to build and then they just run graders over and then they're good to go, right? Like land prep can take... Yeah, it's a huge process to lay all of the utilities and things in there. That's a big concern. And so getting more developments on the go will definitely be something that you're probably not going to see come to completion in 2023, but they might make announcements. And also, is there any other groups out there that we feel like... I would like to talk to those people that are watching interest rates thinking things are going to come down. Because I want you to know, I hear you, right? It would make total sense. Buyer demand, seller supply. If interest rates go up, obviously buyer demand is going to go down and seller supply is going to go up. And then we're going to see sellers try to get the available buyers by changing their prices, right? That makes total sense to me. If it was a closed system, if that was the only variable, A plus B equals C. But there's like 26 letters, and I bet you there's more than that for variables. And one of the big variables we're seeing is net migration. So for those people that think A plus B equals C, and they're going to wait next year and they're going to think properties are going to be coming down the same way they've seen in Toronto and Vancouver, 35,000 new Albertans. Net migration is buyer demand. So you might see reduced buyer demand due to interest rates, plus increased buyer demand due to all the people moving to Edmonton right now. And it could be that it just is more expensive for you to buy that house next year. And if the money costs more, instead of getting it locked in now, it could also mean that the money is more expensive and that your pre-approval doesn't go as far.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention the amount of... Sorry, I think we're in the same boat there, but I just wanted to mention how many conversations we're having about moving to Alberta. Agents in other markets are sending us photos of bus benches and bus stations that have been littered with posters about how affordable it is here and why families should think about relocating. So it's been on our mind here. It definitely impacts us here, but the rest of Canada is on notice, right? Alberta is for sale. There's lots of opportunities here. And don't expect it to slow down anytime soon.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand the crunch. I was talking to Adam, like I mentioned yesterday, and he was saying that in many households, almost 70% of the money that household takes in goes to paying for their housing. See the surprise faces here? That's what affordability looks like, right? What would you guys expect in a household? What percentage do you think goes towards housing?
I think 40.
I would agree, right? That's a huge distance. I wonder how many vacations you could go on for the difference, right? That's what lifestyle looks like.
How many years you could retire?
Yeah, it could also look like that. For those people that are thinking about changing, thinking about coming from one province to another, it may surprise you to hear things like this, but most people have more than half of their money after paying for their house. And then what the cool thing is they go out and spend it on fun and they don't pay as much tax. What's the tax rate here for when you purchase something?
5%.
Just GST, hey? That was easy. And the thing that they can't see is even the income tax is less here. So when we're talking about lifestyle, if for those people that feel strapped, that feel like they're not really like able to deliver the 18 summers to the kids that they want to, I got to tell you, it could be that you're just in the wrong spot. Like with all real estate, location is everything. I really appreciate you guys joining us this morning to go through the September market stats as we enter into October in the greater Edmonton area. How would you, looking forward, summarize what you expect to see by the end of the year? We're going to start with Craig, then we're going to go with Anthony. We're going to wrap with Amy. But do you guys have any bold predictions for October, November, December as we close 2022?
So I believe we'll stick on track historically. We will stay in a buyer's market for the remainder of the year here, not an extreme buyer's market. We will continue to see net migration, people coming to purchase, people coming to rent, leading into a very busy next year.
Anthony?
I expect to see a lot of the same things. And something we've been noticing is families have to relocate here and obtain at least a paycheck in order to qualify to remove conditions on their home. And so I expect the rental market to be all right as families look for those short-term rentals. But yeah, it's going to be a buyer's market. And then those sellers that are accurate are going to benefit from the changing market.
And Amy?
Yeah, I think that these guys are onto something. I think that you're right about the winter market. And my bold prediction for the new year is that it will go directly from a buyer's market to a seller's market very, very quickly.
I think that the utility time of year, so we talk about families upgrading in the spring, they're very defined by the school year, and they affect the statistics a lot because they are the largest active group, okay? That does kind of the same thing at the same time. In the winter, we still buy and sell houses with people. We do it all year round. But we find that more of our clients are like on the utility side of real estate. So they might be job transfers. There might be some estate work we do. Some people picking up flips that they want to like bring into the spring market. Those are more prevalent. Those people that aren't choosing to move. Like there are definitely some people that end up changing their family dynamic and listing their house because of it. So those types of things happen over the winter, but also a lot of investor stuff. Investors are always looking. And I got to tell you that nationally, investors are looking here. They see the fact that they can buy something now and then raise rents. They see the fact that this is the last place where there's big potential to go up. And they're watching those migratory patterns because so many people need a job before they can get a mortgage. So they do come here and rent before they buy anything. Mm-hmm. So I think we're going to see a ton of action in the investor market this winter. I think that we're also going to see vacancy drop. And by next year, when Amy's calling it to go from cold to hot really quickly, what you're going to see is for the first time in almost half a decade in Edmonton, that condos are going to be outselling single family, that we're going to see the bottom of the market heat up, that missing bottom of the market. And then the $300,000 condo sells. If you're from Toronto, you can get a great condo here for $300,000. And the $300,000 condo sells, and those people go and buy something at $400,000. And those people go and buy something at $500,000. That's what's been missing in Edmonton since the market has been going down. So get ready, 2023. This is going to be a real ride. Thanks, everybody, for coming in, and thanks for watching. We hope that you have an amazing week. And if you're looking for more information, why don't you reach out on the Fast Agent hotline? We have somebody that will make sure you're not waiting for a call back from someone else at 780-909-6770, or head over to HACK&Co.com. Cheers.